and we
Yeah.
are not talking to people on our side that disagree with us, then aren't we kind of doing some damage? Don't you
Well,
see how that can be collateral damage?
but do you understand how that's still speculative? Like that's just speculation. You're not giving me a demonstration of like here's the thing though that would help you out. Things at the same time. I don't mind doing that. I love when detractors come at me from different angles. I love destroying multiple targets at the same time. That's just my MO. But I understand. I don't know how you function, but we'll respect that as well too.
Well, it's not a matter of like I can deal with like the multitasking, but it's just like this debate I think deserves for Charlie a certain amount of respect.
Wait, hold on. That's kind of a emotional concession, but I'll take that too. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, good. I'll respect that too.
Yeah. Either way, I know it can be distracting for debaters, so that's why I don't do that no more. So, and like I said, any super chats that's going to be saved till the end for the Q&A section. So, yeah. By the way, everyone listening, yeah, if you have any questions for the debaters during the debate, I'll read them after. So get those super chat questions in. And with that said, let's see who should go first.
I challenged Martae, so I'll let him go first.
Actually, I was going to let you go first because you're the guy that's against that. Usually against goes first in my book.
Okay.
Yeah, you
it's first. Your prompt. You're to be honest, and I can explain this for you, RealRain. It's a very controversial topic, and the reason why it's controversial, and this is my real quick, I'll tie this up real quick, Vic. I'm not going to be too long. Yeah. You would be in a sense like the bad guy in this situation, to be honest, because you're the guy on the right, from what I understand. And let me know if I'm mischaracterizing your position. But you're also saying that Charlie Kirk did more harm to the right while being on the right. So this would kind of be the quintessential bad guy while being on the good guy side to some degree, right?
Okay. Hey, if you want me to go first, I'll go first.
There you go. Gentlemen's ask. There you go.
Yeah, and plus he is the affirmative. So whenever you're ready, RealRain, we could begin.
All right. Well, my opening statement. People will look at my opinion and say I'm talking about Charlie Kirk as being a bad person. I am not. The Avengers saved the world, but damaged a city in the process. Charlie Kirk changed the world and America, but that does not mean he did not hurt the right. He did things when we look at the 2019 Groyper Wars. When we look at the 2019 Groyper Wars, we cannot say that it did not affect the 2020 election. We can also not say that Charlie did not open the door wide for critics or for leftists to come in to our movement. The right wing and the far right movement has always had an issue with grifters. These grifters coming into our spaces, and when they do, they change our morals. Now, there's a lot of people in the Groyper movement, and part of the reason why the 2019 Groyper Wars happened is because Charlie preached for open debate, but refused to debate Nick Fuentes. If you can honestly say that not talking to Nick Fuentes did not cause the America First movement, I will accept that argument. But if you do say that Charlie Kirk not accepting a conversation with Nick Fuentes caused the America First movement, that means he unintentionally damaged the right. He did this by suppressing voices. Suppressing voices is what Charlie said he was against. He was willing to talk to Hassan Piker, but Vincent James is off limit. Why should we not listen to the radical right voices? The far right positions of 10 years ago are today's mainstream positions. We have conversations every day about HB1 visas. Look at the Somalian conversation in Minnesota. And we can go no further than Vic's video from a couple weeks ago, where we see that everything that Jillian Michaels feels is a leftist feeling. And Charlie Kirk opened the door for Jillian Michaels. So let me ask you this, Martae. Why is it okay to open the door for your enemy that does not share your values but agrees with you on a policy, and then shut the door on an ally that disagrees with you on policies? And with that, I yield my time.
All right. Thank you very much, RealRain, for that. So let's see. Let me reset this. All right, Martae, whenever you're ready, we could begin.
So when I'm ready, you can play that video, and then I'll use up the rest of the remaining of my time with my opening too.
All right. All righty.
Andrew Wilson,
Let's add this to the stage.
where were you when you heard about Charlie Kirk, and what is your view of the fallout from this?
Yeah, I was sitting with my wife watching TV. So the thing is I remember this picture circulating around of Charlie Kirk. He was debating the incoming president of the Oxford Union, and they were all smiles and handshakes. And by the next day, this guy was saying the most insane rhetoric about how he basically had it coming. So how many of these leftists have murderous intent? When we show up to have a conversation with them, we show up to debate our views, we show up to in some way engage with them. How many of them have seething murderous intent behind their eyes, and they don't really want to do any of that? They really want you dead. And that is the biggest demonstration of that, by the way, in that one single picture. You have Anna Kasparian here, and she's talking about this. The Young Turks called Charlie Kirk a fascist how many times? The Young Turks played into this rhetoric how much? They went out of their way to do so. Reuben recently called him out for doing it. So I just
called him a fascist.
hang on.
I've literally never. I don't even call Trump a fascist.
I didn't interrupt you once, lady.
But you can't make things up about what I've said about Charlie Kirk.
You can talk when I'm done talking, like I was respectful enough to let you do. So the thing is like, yes, they do. This network does do that, and these leftists do that. And they set all the rhetoric up in the world to make sure something like this happened, and they were dancing on the grave of this guy before he was even cold. I have tweets from Destiny which are insane. The leftists have gone off the reservation. And it's time for us to stop pretending that it's not their rhetoric which is leading to these types of assassinations, because it is. I don't want to hear about factions. All of you guys are doing this. All of you guys have the same type of rhetoric which leads to this, or the networks you work for do.
We work on college campuses across the country. The only way we're going to take back the youth of this country is to storm them, and that is how we're going to make America great again. Thank you so much.
You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. Wow. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year, so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights.
When people stop talking, that's when you get violence. That's when civil war happens, because you start to think the other side is so evil and they lose their humanity.
3 weeks ago, Blake, if we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously.
Always come into every conversation believing that you might be wrong and that you might learn something. I would encourage all of you that are intellectually honest, that are on the left, that are liberals, to know what conservatives believe better than conservatives.
How would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. The most important thing is my faith in my life.
All right, Charlie Kirk's assassination shaking some moderate Democrats and independents, even pushing them to rethink their party ties. The New York Post digging into what they are labeling the so-called Charlie Kirk effect, with voters saying they're done with the Democrats and in some cases are ready to join the GOP after seeing how the left and legacy media reacted to Kirk's killing. Let's hear from two of them right now. Jennifer Say, CEO of XXXY Athletics, a former Democrat who is now unaffiliated, and Christopher Elton, a restaurant manager from Bucks County, Pennsylvania, who says he always registered independent but is now a registered Republican. Welcome to both of you. Christopher Elton.
Bomb drop. Okay, let's begin. So The left's outrage was rocket fuel for his message. In my opponent's opening, he cites the Groypers and also Nick Fuentes. Now, granted, there are debates that I even turn down. Yes, even me. I turn them down all the time. Now, the ironic thing about my opponent's opening statement here is his presence here. Now, I talked to Cool Vic before this, and we said that this is something that's unusual. It's a unicorn event, as I pointed out before this debate even started. Now, my opening statement, here's what I'm going to give you. So it's very funny because in his, debate style, the 2024 election showed that the right won by running a more populist Kirk-style campaign that energized the base and flopped key demographics, while the moderate strategy repeatedly failed. He saw these old, stodgy white men before with their political agendas, and that wasn't working because the political landscape changed because of social media and everything else. Charlie grasped the youth, as it were. Not only did he grasp the youth's ear, but led a movement. He wasn't just a debater, and there's something that you negated in your opening statement. He was an organizer. Charlie brought people together that otherwise wouldn't meet together. Ben and Candace, crazy, pretty cringe there, just a meetup. But they got together for TPO USA to lead the youth toward Trump being a presidential candidate. So here's the irony, and I was waiting for this part. So when you say the whole thing about, prove me wrong about this whole debate with him running on this prove me wrong thing on college campuses, you're here saying prove me wrong using Charlie Kirk's kind of themed platform to even do this, which is almost a borderline concession toward his platform and his style of debate by even presence alone for you being here. So this is the thing, though, just to close this up. His debates aren't bullying like the left says. They're opening dialogues. So when you say that he's closing up dialogue from different people, like you said in your opening statement, no, he opens up the dialogue. He's just being very selective and probably picking his chimes, because in your opening statement, I also didn't hear the why he turned it down, because there could have been banter behind the scenes that we didn't hear about. I'm just hearing that he just turned it down, but no other context behind that. Odd. There may have been a reason why. I'm pretty sure he had justified reasons. Publicists probably said something probably happened, but that's omitted conveniently from your opening statement. But I'm ready to dive into this conversation about Charlie Kirk and trying to figure out how, even though he helped Trump in his campaign, and as you saw, the two Democrats switch sides to becoming Republican from Charlie Kirk's death. His death emboldened more people to transfer over because of that and see that the left is more violent. Even in his death, he's actually helped the right too. But I'll concede my time.
All right. Perfect. Thank you very much for that, Martae. Thank you guys both. All right. Before we officially begin, like I said, everybody, make sure you get those questions in. And at the end, we will be holding a Q&A. And yeah, that's about it. So, gentlemen, whenever you're ready, let's begin the open dialogue.
Okay. So you asked a question on why didn't Charlie talk to Nick or Vincent James. You see, I know a lot of people are unfamiliar with the far right, but that does not mean they don't exist. So I'm going to ask you, Martae, why is it better for Charlie to have talked to Hassan Piker and introduce his audience to Hassan Piker than it would be to introduce him to voices on the right, like Vincent James and Stefan Molyneux?
I'm glad you said that. And the answer was kind of already in your response when you said that to me. You said, I know people aren't familiar with these people on the right. Well, if they're obscure and he's not going to introduce them, how does this actually helps my argument? Because if you're going to not bring obscure people to your side, that actually doesn't move the needle at all, because they're obscure. First of all, a lot of people don't know about them. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people didn't even know about Charlie Kirk himself, as a matter of fact, or seen his debates until after his death. And that's admittedly on the right in most parts. This is what's happened. Well, meanwhile, TPUSA has been running, I would say, this whole shop. When he was 18, he started this up. I did a little bit of research on Charlie. Young entrepreneur, by the way. But when you talk about people like Stefan Molyneux, who's more of a big name, controversial as hell, which I can see why you may want to be adjacent to him, but not fully bring him in the fold to kind of see, because that could be kind of like an optics nightmare. Because first of all, Stephen was banned on different platforms, things like this, because of his takes and things. So it's like almost like if you have this baby, this child called TPUSA, you kind of want to make sure that it's bolstered in the right hands, and you want to make sure that nothing gets in there that can corrupt this, because we're talking about affecting the youth that you want to embolden with this ideological message towards Christianity and ethics.
Okay, my response to that would be Nala.
Yeah. Nala, I would say that to me, the right would say something that would say, you know, she's reformed and all this other stuff. Now, granted, I am with you when I say that there are people that will infiltrate, but to me, I do see remnants of that remains to be seen yet. I don't see her opening up a OF page. Actually, I don't see her doing any of this other stuff. Now, like when I said that remains to be seen, but can you tell me, even now, has Nala kind of like receded back into the depths of like filth?
In my opinion, with her Grinch video around Christmas, and she was trying to get her husband to twerk on camera.
Yeah, that's not like OF content. We could say there's a lot of people that dance together on camera and stuff like that. But would you call that OF content?
Okay. No, I would not call that OF content,
right.
but
Well, that's not OF content. We've rolled that out. But moving forward, it's like even Nala Ray, it's almost like you have to give people grace. And me, I'm with you. Actually, I'll even concede that with you. I'm really curious as to why they brought her on as well too. I'll concede that much to you, but that remains to be seen whether or not she's a quote unquote, as like Protestants will say, a backslider yet, because she hasn't opened up an OF account or done any of this other stuff. Meanwhile, mind you, I'm over here and I orbit the Crucible, and I've got a damn pass myself. I just got baptized, and it's like they have to give me grace too. So I think that it's more benevolent on Charlie Kirk's behalf to bring in people and give them a second chance and redemption. Would it not be?
So why doesn't Nick Fuentes deserve a second chance?
Well, Nick Fuentes is a little bit different because he rocked the boat of structures to where it almost caused his own demise, meaning like, so if you take Nala Ray and you do a side-by-side comparison, Nick Fuentes caused financial loss to himself, made sure that he wasn't getting paid from this, and almost like, where are you going to get income from? So if anybody's going to get infected by anything, it's not the loss of income that anybody wants. Meanwhile, Nala Ray hasn't really caused anybody to be destitute of finance. It's more like an image nightmare, I would say an optics nightmare for Nala. So it's like you have to measure the both, I would say the implications of the outcomes. Like Nala Ray would be an optics nightmare to some degree if she backslid, but Nick Fuentes, like banned, deplatformed, debanked, like that's pretty bad. So it's like, I'm pretty sure he had to weigh his options, but it's like you also have to think about this. Nick didn't get enough time with Charlie. Charlie didn't last on this earth long enough to build the bridge long enough with him, and so we never got to see the finale of this whole episode, so to speak.
So let me ask you this: if we were to go by that, Nick Fuentes and Nala are comparably controversial amongst the right.
Yes.
Okay. One deserves grace and an opportunity to have a conversation with. The other one does not deserve grace and the opportunity to have a conversation with. I'm confused.
So there's a distinction between the two. Having a conversation with Nala Ray never got channels banned, never got people debanked or channels deplatformed. Having conversations with Nick got channels banned, got things deplatformed. So what is a debate? Debate is merely a conversation, right? So if you were to say something like merely being in the presence of Nala Ray or being filmed with Nick Fuentes, and Nick Fuentes had a muzzle on, didn't speak, it was his mouth that, I mean, things that he uttered that I would say even during Joe Biden's presidency that got everything banned. It wasn't Nala Ray's speech, it was her actions. But Nick Fuentes, it was his speech, not his actions. It's the inverse.
Okay, so one of them can use their mouth to do.
I see where you're going with this. But that's action.
I'm confused. Like, do you know?
One is speech and one is action, right? There's still that distinction, and it still holds true.
A degenerate action that is now associated with the right.
Right. And then not to mention this, but Fuentes did try to destroy TPUSA to some degree. He's even mentioned notions of this too. We forget to admit this as well too, but it's like, that's also true. Nick Fuentes also has not been fully vested on the Trump train as well too. While Nala Ray has conceded all of that. She said, yeah, I've converted to Christ. I've basically fully divested over to the Trump train. And I've not only spoken non-ill of TPUSA, she's done the complete opposite. Whereas Nick on his side, it's like, yeah, that's a liability, because not only has he spoken not too highly of TPUSA, he's also uttered conspiracy theories towards that, which he hasn't even proven as well, too, just speculation, which is bad. That's also a political nightmare, an optics nightmare, and also the deplatforming and everything else that follows suit. Nala Ray doesn't hold quite as the same precedent as he does as far as destructive mechanisms of speech.
So are you familiar with why the Groyper Wars happened in 2019?
You can enlighten the audience, because I'm
asking you.
Well, hold on. Groyper War started, and I'm pretty sure that there was a lot of suppression that happened during the time.
Okay.
Am I correct?
Well,
because of the suppression.
Well, no, the leading cause.
Giving a broad generalization.
No, the leading cause of the Groyper War 2019 was Charlie Kirk had an employee called Ashley St. Clair. I know you all are familiar with her because she's the richest man on earth's baby mama. He took a picture with Nick and posted it on Twitter and then fired her for that. So what happened after that? Charlie, I'm going to use my words carefully, but Charlie did doing that, Nick perceived as a personal attack. You cannot say that it wasn't. So when you say like Nick attacked Charlie Kirk for no reason or didn't have a reason to, that's kind of disingenuous. Nick had a reason to. So
that would actually be more of an argument for why Nick caused more damage to the right, not Charlie Kirk, would it not?
Well, not necessarily when you look at
Come on, bro.
Well, you got to look at the effect of the Groyper War, because at the end of the day, there were many people during the events of the Groyper War where Charlie shut down conversations about Israel. Did he not?
Well, but here's the thing, though, is there's a lot of speculation.
Like that's a kind of a yes or no question. Did Charlie shut down questions about Israel?
No, he didn't shut down. He may have, but we don't fully know that. So it's not really a yes or no question. The reason why I can say that, I can point out a resource for you. So on Patrick Bet David's network, he talked about Israel, but then he also didn't want to talk about Israel on other platforms. So it's a mixed bag. That's why it's not exactly yes or no. One of the things that he said before he passed away, God bless his soul, was he spoke about misaligning with Israel and kind of pulling away. So he did talk about Israel. So I kind of almost contradicts your whole point when he did talk about this on Patrick Bet David.
No, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about during the Groyper War. If you're unfamiliar with the Groyper War, that's fine.
Well, no, I'm asked. So, I mean, we could talk about the Groyper War, but I don't see how that's not a Nick Fuentes caused more damage to the right than Charlie Kirk caused more damage to the right conversation, how that's not going to lead down that trail.
Because if Charlie would have accepted open dialogue with Nick Fuentes in 2019 about the far right's issues with Israel.
Yeah, but do you understand that's tantamount to blackmail? If you don't talk about this repercussion will happen to you. That's basically what that amounts to. You know that, right?
That is like
that's not Charlie Kirk then, if that's the case.
That is like a gross mischaracterization of what I'm saying. Can you
clear that up for me? I've been asking you to clear this up for the audience so they can hear that too.
I'm saying Charlie always said he was open to debate, right? He was open.
Yeah. So here's the thing, though. If I tell you,
I'm sorry, but you have to let me, you have to follow my logic if you're going to ask me these questions.
Yeah, but I'm going to ask you questions, and follow your logic. But also, I have to kind of clear things up at the same time, and we have to be transparent here. So while following your logic, I'm just not going to bite random bullets at the same time. Here's the thing, though. If we follow your logic down to this Groyper movement can you explain how it's like Charlie Kirk, by his own admission or his own actions himself and not anybody else's repercussion, causing damage to the right? Let's just nip this in the bud right now.
Okay, I said again, I'm sorry.
Oh, you want me to repeat it real quick?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll make this really concise for you. So if Nick wasn't present, I'll give you a different scenario. If Nick never existed, would Charlie have more damage to the right?
In a way, I would
According to
say,
you.
in my point of view, yes.
Oh, so it's not Charlie Kirk that caused damage,
No,
bro.
You said if Nick Fuentes never existed.
Yeah, if Nick Fuentes never existed,
would Charlie
Kirk have caused more damage to the right? Which means that he's the common denominator causing damage to the right, not Charlie Kirk. You see how that works?
No, like your question doesn't make no, because if Nick Fuentes never existed, there would still be a far right movement that Charlie Kirk would have ignored, which would have then actually led to
that would be an assumption.
More damage. Like
we don't know that.
Question does not make any sense. It doesn't.
It does, and I'll even clear this up. I'll give you a hypothetical.
You're literally saying if Nick
if a gun doesn't exist, is that person still a murderer if they take a life? It's harder to take a life, right?
That doesn't even.
There's no weapons, and there's a gun present, and then there's not a gun present. Meanwhile, there's Nick present, and he's
Martae, you're really confusing this. This debate is not Nick Fuentes.
Well, you're the one that brought him up, bro.
I brought him up, but that's not who the debate about. The debate's about Charlie Kirk. You asked.
Okay. You see what you just did?
No, you asked. Vic, can you please explain this? Like, I am saying, if Nick Fuentes never existed, the damage Charlie Kirk did to the right would have been the same, if not more.
Okay.
That's
okay. Can you explain how it would have been the same absent Nick Fuentes?
Okay.
That's really what I'm asking.
Because you guys don't I don't think you're understanding. The far right messaging of Nick would have been there. Nick is an entity. Nick is just a person. The far right message goes back years.
Right, I hear you, but can I get a demonstration of how this would have happened without an empty assertion or an assumption?
Okay, well,
because you're just assuming this, and I'm not going to bite the bullet unless you could demonstrate a person or an action that would have happened, or somebody that's uttered a statement or a source or something like that. Because you're saying that if Nick wasn't there, some random person would have just filled in the shoes, and we don't really know that, because just like I'm at the behest of that question, you're at the behest of the same question too.
Vincent James was there before Nick Fuentes was. Vincent James was saying this same thing. Like Nick Fuentes, and we can even say Richard Spencer. Like Nick Fuentes is just an entity. The damage that I'm telling you that Charlie caused was by ignoring the far right.
So hold on, you're saying that the damage he caused was other people's actions?
No, oh my God!
Because even in his inaction, his approach determined people's response. Is that your argument?
No, I am saying the far right has a message. Do you understand? The far right has a message.
Even the far left has a message. I get that.
Okay. The far right message amongst youngsters grew during the times of Charlie Kirk. Charlie never addressed the far right's message. Because he never addressed it, the far right grew more angry. The far right growing angry and having someone that had the charisma to do it or to get the message out, like Richard Spencer, and from 2007 and up until about 2016. Then after that,
So I have a question, RealRain, real quick. I know you're going a little bit of a diatribe right now. Do you think that most people know who Richard Spencer is if you ask him on the street?
Yes, he is one of the most prominent. He coined the phrase alt-right.
So I don't think a lot of people know who Richard Spencer is. And then there's a lot of people who don't know, believe it or not, who Nick Fuentes is. They don't even know how the Graper movement got started. If you in this debate, you have to explain it's okay if you don't know what this is. Well, that would, if you followed the trail of logic, then it would be okay to not know who Richard Spencer is, which a lot of people don't know this. In regular secular society or even religious society, a lot of people don't know who some of these people are, which means that they're probably not as incremental with this group. But here's my point real quick. Let me get to my point. This is my main point. Do you think that Richard Spencer's movement or the Groyper movement was in alignment with TPUSA or the baby, the brainchild of Charlie Kirk?
I think Nick Fuentes' message was, because he was an America First, pro-Catholic, anti-degeneracy advocate. He was saying, hey, Charlie, why are you inviting these speakers on and not inviting these speakers on? That was like Nick Fuentes' main question.
Well, that sounds like he's the antithesis of TPUSA. If he's saying, no, you shouldn't run it like this. He doesn't sound like he's in alignment if he's speaking like that.
Okay, I have a favorite football team, right?
Yeah.
And I can question their decisions, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so saying like, hey, like Charlie, like this is the right wing is about. You're doing kind of things that the right wing is not about, is something that we should be able to question.
So it's one thing when you question things, and then it's another thing when you start calling people like puppets of Israel, which Nick Fuentes have done. When you start demeaning kind of the TPUSA, lowbrowing them and making all these comments, which Nick has also said. So there's a lot of things that I can pull up right now in the middle of this debate, which show that he was the antithesis of TPUSA. Just because we're in alignment, matter of fact, just because we have Protestants and we have LDS doesn't mean that we're all Christians, right? Even though we both believe in Christ, even though we both believe in the same mantras, whatever this is, we're not in alignment, right?
Right.
Right. So if Nick was saying, no, I don't like the way you're running this, you're a puppet for Israel, you're doing all this. Yeah, that's not alignment, bro.
Right. But those were genuine concerns, right?
Yeah, you can have concerns while not being in alignment, right?
Okay. So we can have.
They weren't in alignment.
Okay. So you can disagree. So we are on the right able to allow people that don't align with us in terms of religion. We can have disagreements on people that disagree with us on terms of sexuality, but we can't have people that disagree with us about Israel, and then we're unaligned. I don't understand that. Like,
so there are things that we got to flesh out too, because it's possible that we can have disagreements with people and not let them up for conversation because we have a wall up. Matter of fact, Trump's whole premise of like build the wall and all this was to have an absolute barrier from certain things that are incompatible with culture, which Nick, very abrasive as this guy was, and Richard Spencer as well too, with their rhetoric, does not fully align with TPUSA. So if you're talking about Charlie Kirk not letting them up, this whole thing boils down and I'm going to make this really concise for you. This whole argument at this point sounds like what Nick Fuentes and all of them did as a response to Charlie Kirk's inaction did harm to the right more than Charlie Kirk's message or anything he's ever done. Sounds like your argument you're making is like his inaction caused more damage because he's not letting these people who he's kind of wary of because they caused damage to platforms and everything else in the past because of their controversy. Like, to me, this is more like a Nick Fuentes and Spencer caused more damage to the right argument than anything else, to be honest with you.
Okay, so let me kind of rephrase my position.
I would too if I were you.
Would you say talking to Hassan, introducing your audience to Hassan, Vic, you, Martae, you guys have bigger platforms than me. You guys would not invite people on your platform that you think could corrupt your audiences, right?
Yeah. Well, if their message is incompatible with what we have, it would basically turn us into a walking contradiction factory.
So
like it wouldn't be an absolute, but we risk that, right?
So why did he talk to Hassan? Why did he talk to Kyle Skrzynski?
Right now we're in the realm of like speculation.
No,
because if you're asking me why, it means that you don't even have the answer either.
No, well, I don't have the answer. But
Right. So you're at the behest of the same question you're asking me, which means that this is like a non-essential question to the debate now. It just became that.
Okay, so why talk to someone on the left that we all agree that Hassan is on the fringe of the left?
Yeah, he is, but we have there's different different pedigrees of like left. There's like the non-threatening left, the laughable left, and then there's like, you're probably going to get me demonetized left.
Oh,
right?
Okay. But we can admit that Hassan is on the fringes of the left.
Yeah, I mean, I would debate Hassan, but then there's people that I wouldn't debate. Rob Noor has stated several times, I'm not debating Destiny because I don't want to give him airtime because he's a net bad.
Martae, I'm sorry, but you're that was just like a yes or no question. Like, Hassan is on the fringes of the left.
Well, this is a debate. We can't really purely be an absolute of the yes or no. We're like, even right now, it's funny because ironically you're saying it's a yes or no question, but while you're speculating and making speculative statement by saying why, while not having answers yourself, and then saying for me to beholden to yes or no black and white questions, which is crazy.
Right, but that's kind of a straightforward question. So
not exactly. It just depends on who you're asking, because not everything, because you can't assume the mind of the person you're asking a question, whether or not it's straightforward or not, because that person may have nuance or context that you don't have. Right.
Okay. Now you're just arguing a sentence. So Hassan is on the fringes of the left. I'll just go ahead and say it.
Well, the sentences are extremely important. If you don't know, and I don't know, like I said, we had to throw the previous thing you asked out. These are extremely important in debates, man. We got to flesh these out.
No, because if you're saying that Nick was on the fringes and Charlie did not want to hurt his brand, and Hassan is on the fringes and it helps Charlie's brand, do you not see how that can bring people that tune into Charlie Kirk to the left?
Yeah, but RealRain, remember how we just said you don't know why, or the motivation of why he talked to one person but wouldn't talk to the other, and then I also don't know, and we agreed to throw that out because we will inevitably arrive at a non-answer.
Right, but you're kind of just kind of steamrolling what I'm saying.
Well, no, because I don't want this debate to turn into a speculative debate, because we're not going to get anywhere if we just speculate, if we don't have any pure knowledge of who thought what, or an absolute, something close or adjacent to an absolute, which is not what you're arriving to when you say, well, it's going to turn people away, even though we don't know the whys. To me, that doesn't make any sense. I would rather get to hard facts, proof, and sources in a logical entailment in this debate, rather than just the speculative entailment of who could have, may have happened, if it happened. That's not a really good strong position to hold for anybody.
The whole premise of this debate is subjective.
It's subjective, but
so we have to be willing to address subjective questions. So just saying that,
right, but when you get subjective questions, you're going to filter out everything, like the what ifs and the may, might have, could have happens, to this is what did happen. This is that's the purpose of debate, to filter everything down to the grounding foundation of hey, this is what is claimed, this is what is happening, and that's what ought to happen. That's literally what all debates boil down to. But it's if we're in speculative territory and we end up in this, all we're going to be in is what if land, and we're going to have this circular argument, and that's just going to end up in what if land. That's it. We're just going to be stuck there.
Right, but this whole debate is on a what if. So
no, it's not a what if. We have to look at the facts. So remember in the beginning intro video that I showed, there were two anecdotes, and I know anecdotes aren't strong evidentiary claims. I'd say those are two Democrats that switched sides to becoming Republican shortly after his death, because even in death, he emboldened the left to switch to the right. That's not speculative at all. They actually did that.
Well, the thing is that I'm really trying to get across to you, and the point I'm really trying to get through to people, and I think people in the chat are understanding what I'm saying, is Charlie spent a lot of time, and you want an objective fact? Here's an objective fact. Charlie spent more time talking to people that celebrated his death than he did talking to people that mourned his death. If you are looking at this from an optics point of view, why would I want to be on a team that openly talks to people that celebrate my death rather than people that mourn my death?
That's kind of crazy, because ironically, Christ talked to more people that celebrated his death. And the reason why this is tangential is because he had a Christian ethical foundation. Charlie Kirk did. He was a representative of Christ, so he said, a figurehead of this Christian national movement that he wanted to push. Christ talked to more people that wanted him dead. And here's the thing, though. I would actually embolden anybody to question the fact of, like, does Martae talk to people in echo chambers that agree with him? No, that doesn't improve the landscape of the political environment. We are supposed to engage with our enemies. And Charlie Kirk uttered this message full-heartedly. Actually, in my intro video that I showed, he's like, we have to talk to people about the gun culture. It's worth these couple deaths from happening. It's tangential to saying if we're going to have cars, there's going to be deaths, car crashes, for us to have more cars. It's like the same argument. That's going to engage in people that are going to want discourse and not going to like him and his message, because we're supposed to change the minds of the people who don't agree with us. That's why. So actually, that makes my argument, in my opinion.
Okay. So we have to change the minds of people that disagree with us.
Yes. There's no way you can do this, because if you're saying that it's bad talking to people that disagree with you, that actually makes my argument, because I'm like, yes, we're what are the trenches? If I tell you I'm going in the trenches to fight these degens, that's literally what we're called to do, bro.
Well, Martae, like, we're supposed to talk to people we disagree with, and we are talking to people on the other side, and we are not talking to people on our side that disagree with us, then aren't we kind of doing some damage? Don't you see how that can be collateral damage?
But do you understand how that's still speculative? Like, that's just speculation. You're not giving me a demonstration of, like, here's the thing, though, that would help you out. If you, and I'm not, this isn't my ego.
Fair enough. I'll give you some concrete stuff. In 2024, Nick Fuentes told the Groyper Army to not vote for Trump. So we can sit here and say in 2016, Trump had this many votes. In 2024, he had this many votes. When we take account for the Groypers that did not vote for Trump, we can see that there's probably a difference. So that is a number that we have.
Right. Okay. So you got that number. But here's the problem with that analysis, is that actually emboldens the argument of Nick Fuentes did more damage to the right than Charlie Kirk, because if Charlie Kirk was fighting Nick Fuentes, who said, let's not vote for Trump, that literally proves my whole point. Another claim of saying that, hey, if Charlie Kirk was fighting for the good of Trump being a president and Nick Fuentes was the antithesis of this, this further shows that he is not in alignment with Nick's message, and why Nick probably wanted to pull away from him and vice versa.
Well, let's also look at the fact that Trump is one aspect of the right. He is not the embodiment of the right.
Right, there's different factions. I can agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. Did in the 2022 midterms, did the Republicans say we are going to have a red wave?
Yeah, this was uttered in mass. I heard that too. Yeah.
Did we have a red wave?
I mean, Trump won the presidency.
Well, I'm not talking about 2024. I said in 2022. Did we have a red wave in 2022?
So when you say the red wave, there was two distinct factions that talked about a red wave. Which one are you talking about? And can you describe what this red wave is?
The 2022 red wave was where the right was supposed to completely dominate the left in the midterms. Are you saying that when Nick Fuentes and his followers felt betrayed by Trump, Kirk, Shapiro, and all the TradCon Inc., can you say that that did not have kind of a effect?
That would be speculation on my part, and I'm not here to just speculate. I'm here to just get to like numbers and facts. And if there's
So
logical,
the numbers and facts show that they lost. They did not have a red wave.
So, but here's the thing, though. Let's say there was a huge L on Charlie Kirk's side, even though he was fighting the good side and pushing for Trump. I still don't see how that hurt the Republican side or the conservative side if he's still fighting and fought the good life fight and still lost somehow, in your opinion.
Because like you're looking at this from the term of when I'm telling you about how the far right has stepped away from the right wing conservative party. The right wing doesn't vote. Like the far right doesn't vote. The far right felt betrayed by Trump. The far right has just basically said, we're done with Trump in 2016. Charlie Kirk preached things that the far right was like asking him questions about that he did not want to have conversations about. And if you look at one of his last conversations with Ben Shapiro, I think the video released on the day of, or like September 9th, if you look at that video, the questions Ben Shapiro was being asked by Charlie were questions the far right was asking Charlie in 2019. So Charlie's unwillingness to talk to those guys alienated them. You're saying he brought people in. I'm saying you can bring in 2 voters from the left, but if you're losing 4 voters from the right on the back door, what does it matter?
Yeah, but hold on though. This is an unfalsifiable claim, and the reason why is because you can't demonstrate like that it was 2 people or 4 people or how that happened or the entailment. You're just saying, oh, this is what happened, but I'm not hearing a demonstration of like why. There's no context. You're just going to give a broad assertion. Still, we're still at this assumptive realm that you're at right now, saying, well, no, that's the reason why they lost, but not telling me how or why.
Okay, would you say that Charlie propped up the rhinos in Congress?
I don't know.
Let's
say he did or didn't. What would that have to do with anything?
Dan Crenshaw.
Yeah, like let's say he did prompt up Dan Crenshaw, and Dan Crenshaw was, because we all make mistakes sometimes, and Dan Crenshaw was a net negative, and that happened. Like that would be a drop in the bucket compared to everybody else that he prompted up, especially the whole youth who he amassed to vote in Trump's favor. So I think that's what 1v like how many others? Like you see how the speculation works. That's why I don't want to get into this arena, because all we're going to do is just have this circular argument.
Well, then then I guess we're just both at an impasse, because like this whole debate is about an impasse.
The reason why we're not in an impasse is because I can demonstrate how Charlie Kirk was effective. One of the demonstrations I had was that, and I could show a poll how many liberals converted to the right after Charlie Kirk's passing away. And then not to mention this.
Right. But you're talking about after death.
No, this is still
I'm talking about when he was alive.
No, the prompt isn't when he was alive or dead. This was Charlie Kirk, meaning like him as a whole, right? Because you notice how there's no context about when. It's Charlie Kirk.
Okay, but if he is bringing in former leftists to our cause, Jillian Michaels. Vic just did a video on the Steven Crowder, Jillian Michaels. If we are bringing in leftists that don't share our values, we are letting leftists infiltrate our positions. We are letting leftists that we allow in to say, hey, like, let's disavow this guy.
So the very funny thing is like, here's the problem with this. If you looked at the beginning of my intro title, and Vic already knows this, but I'm going to appeal to the moderator a little bit. I know this is kind of a cheap move here, but I have to. He's covered Anna Kasparian to where he even said on his podcast saying, well, I know she's not a complete lefty. She's moved over to the right. But here's the thing, though, that you're going to run into your Andrew Wilsons and everybody else who's going to vet these fucking people out and eliminate them because they're going to get blasted, confronted by people like me, like people like Rob Noor, like Vic and everybody else who are on the right and be outed. Because even then, when you had, what's that blonde woman who got outed as a covert feminist, that's going to happen. We still have vetters like, you know, if Charlie Kirk was still alive, he'd vet people, but probably not to the degree of your Andrew Wilsons, me, Vic, or anybody else. We are still seeing examples of people vetted. So we'll allow infiltration, but it's not going to last because these people get called out, vetted, and exposed. And guess what happens? It makes us look even better. So I would implore more liberals try to infiltrate our network, and we're going to have the same firm, fair, and consistent stance as we always do by vetting them and kicking them out like we do.
Well, okay. So we have people that vet, and that's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a good stronghold, actually. We have a good front. There's few of us. We need more on our side. But that's what Charlie Kirk was fighting for more on our side. I was actually emboldened more, and this is like a super anecdote.
You know, like I want to like follow that thought.
Yeah.
What would you say about Lauren Southern? Who vetted her?
You're going to have people go through the cracks and all this other stuff. But what happened to Lauren Southern, by the way? What was the outcome of that?
Lauren Southern?
Yeah, what happened to her? What was the outcome of that whole situation?
Well, she ended up kind of betraying us. I'm not going to make any...
And then what happened? She got outed, booted.
Wait, that's her message?
It ends up being the same entailment that I talked about. So we are a self-cleansing system of people who are Christ believers, who are Christian nationalists for the majority. And not to mention this, but we'll see snakes, we'll allow them in, but then they'll provide good examples for why you should further move to the right, which is what Charlie Kirk's whole mantra and message was all about all along.
Okay, so if Nala comes out tomorrow and says, I'm going back to OnlyFans, I don't like this grift, are you going to say Charlie Kirk was wrong?
No, I wouldn't say he's wrong, and I'll tell you why. Would you say that Jesus was wrong because he allowed Judas to come in a circle? What Judas did, Judas actually fulfilled his purpose. That was his purpose. Nala's Ray's purpose could come in and actually magnify our message even more by betraying us and showing, damn, not only are the right consistent, but they boot these people out once they find out that they're snakes. That's awesome. Not only is this consistent, but this is also transparency as well, too. Exposed.
And thus proving the far right correct that we need to have a stronger threshold for entry.
No, so we can't have like an absolutist environment to where it's like, you see where this leans? All we're doing is just emboldening more extremism. So we're supposed to be the right who gives people grace like Christ. Right. Remember, this is Christian nationalism also on the right, giving people grace and having people get a second chance. What you're saying now is espousing like adjacent to like no second chances. No, you do it one strike rule. No, we can't treat everybody like that. But the left does that to us all the time. The left is like that. We don't want to be like the left. What you're talking about is language that's like conforming to the left, and we don't want to do that.
I did not say that. I said a barrier for entry. Like, we will take you in, but once you are here, you have to kind of understand these are our values.
They know that. There's a barrier for entry already. Can you tell me how there's not a barrier for entry?
Oh,
because you just kind of contradicted yourself. You said they know what the values are. They already know what they're getting into, but they still get in. They know what the barrier of entry is. So you've already established that there already is one.
So what are the hardline values of the right?
We don't really have hardline values, but if you want to go there, we can talk about the values that we do embolden and establish ourselves. Like, because you have to talk about like every faction on the right. You have the Schnazis, extremists. You have like Proud Boys. You have like, so there's so many different factions, just like the left does. But for the majority, are God-fearing Christian people. We are mostly a majority God Christian nation. So if we're talking about the majority, there are people that are like anti-pornography, pro-traditional family. That's what we want. This is the the majority of what I see that is emboldened by Charlie Kirk, if we could stay on the subject, anti-pornography, anti-LGBTQ, anti-DEI, and he's espoused that white people are the most racially oppressed people in the nation, which I agree on. And they've said that he's racist for saying that people are getting in through non-merit-based activity. Like, this is actually producing more liabilities. So to me, that's saving the right so much, like by keeping a sensical route of performance when you come to building TP USA.
So would you be okay if the TP USA had a pagan speaker espousing pagan values at an event?
I don't think that he would be okay with that. It's not about me. The debate isn't about what I'd be okay with. This is about Charlie Kirk. So
do you think Charlie would be okay with allowing a pagan speaker at Turning Point USA?
That's an unfalsifiable thing. Like I don't even, you don't know, and I don't know if what the context or nuance would be behind that, to be honest with you.
Okay, so you said one of the core values is being God-fearing.
Yeah, that's one of the core values. Yes.
So pagans don't necessarily have a God-fearing mentality, do they? Because they believe in many gods.
So do you understand that, like, Nala Ray, since you brought her up, she may believe in a different Christ than we do because she doesn't believe in the triune God, right? Am I correct on that?
Well, like...
oh, wait, hold on. She doesn't believe in a triune God, which is not the same God I believe in. And maybe Charlie Kirk may believe that Christ is God like I do. But would we allow her to come in and speak on a Christian ethical foundation system?
Well, first, like, if... like, let's just say, with the pagan perspective, with a pagan's perspective that is anti-porn or anti-porn, anti all the things that you just mentioned, but they are not God-fearing, would they still hold our values, yes or no?
They wouldn't hold all the values, just like we let Nala Ray come in, and she got exposed by Andrew Wilson by saying she's not a believer of a triune God. She's one good example. You see, I'm pulling at something that's objectively true, that's been stated by somebody. That's not speculation that I'm going to. I'm going to something that actually is and has been demonstrated. So I'm going to not only a demonstration, but that actually proves the claim that, yes, we have allowed that to happen. Okay. But that doesn't destroy the far right.
Well, I'm not necessarily talking about the far right in that situation. I'm talking about TPUSA.
Or the right. This doesn't, but the prompt is may have damaged the right more than helped. I don't think that Nala Ray is necessarily a net negative at this moment.
You're really not trying to engage my point of the people on the far right that got disassociated from the Republican Party through Charlie Kirk's inaction to actually, like, engage their ideas. You haven't engaged that point, which is kind of frustrating.
Well, it's frustrating because when we get further to the right, you go into what if and speculation. And I'm just like, yeah, I could speculate with you all day long. But do you understand how that's going to become circular? Because nobody really has an answer of what would have happened and could have happened, because that's what the language starts warping and changing. When you get further to the right, you're saying, well, they could have done this. And would you believe that that may have been a reason why? Like, you see how I said may have? Like, I want to get further away from may have and what if and could have.
But, like, this conversation is literally in the prompt says may have.
Yes, may have, but so, you see how we can go to like a may have, but then go to like an absolute, and I can actually demonstrate that they have. We can arrive on a conclusive statement from like something that's even a question about this, because prompts can be questions like, is outer space made of air or not?
So if I were to like go and do a survey of all the groypers that have just checked out a voting Republican because of the actions of the Groyper War, and brought you that information, you would say, okay, I take it.
If you brought me information on like how the Groyper War started as a result of like Charlie Kirk's non-action, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, basically. Like if I were to say like the Groypers in 2019 checked out of voting for Trump in 2020 because of the actions of the 2019 Groyper War, with being actionable.
You realize that a hypothetical could be like me not letting kids play at a certain kid play at a playground because I didn't want him to play with my toys. A war started because he then threw rocks at me because I didn't want to let him play. This isn't me starting the fight. You realize that, right?
I'm asking you this question because I am involved in some Groyper circles, so I can actually get the survey and information that you're asking for. That's
Correct. Correct. I'll get the information, but do you understand the hypothetical? If I'm at a playground and I don't let a kid play with my toys, I'm responsible because I refuse to let him play with my toys.
You're assuming
he starts the war, not me.
You're assuming an intent with that question.
No, you're doing the same thing when you say.
I literally just told you I am in Groyper circles, and I can get you a survey of people in the Groyper movement that did not vote in 2020. It is not a got you. It is more of a I will bring you the information if you want it.
But do you understand how relevant that hypothetical is? Because, like, let's say you bring me the
hypothetical. It is if you want that information, I can find it for you.
No, the reason we're about the hypothetical is because the hypothetical is really analogous. Because if you bring up the information that shows like these kids got angry because Charlie wouldn't play with them, it still doesn't say that Charlie's responsible for this. The kids got pissed. It wasn't Charlie's fault that they got pissed. Their reaction.
Okay,
their reaction isn't causation.
Because like. You're misconstruing everything I'm saying. I am saying you want data. You want data.
I want data, but do you understand how that data would still not give me a demonstration of how Charlie was responsible? It's their reaction. The way that they respond to it isn't him making them respond to it a certain way. They're deciding to not vote.
But if I were to get you this data, I am not saying this is not a hypothetical. This is I have the means to get you this information.
RealRain, I'll even concede this. Let's say that 99% of Groypers and only one person decided not to change their vote, but everybody else changed their vote and said, I'm voting against Trump. All that does is prove is that a bunch of kids on a playground got pissed because one person decided to exclude them. It's just one group that a lot of people, if you go to the supermarket and ask them who Nick Fuentes is, may not even understand who he is.
No. That one person that excluded him was Charlie Kirk, not Nick Fuentes.
Right. But here's the thing, though. If he excludes them,
oh my God, thank you.
If he excludes them, that means that you're saying that his approach determined their response, which their response was the causation and not Charlie Kirk's.
Charlie caused it and they responded.
Right. So if I come to you and I say, you're not in our club and you start a war, not me, that's you starting the war, not me, because I excluded you.
If you exclude me,
yeah,
and then I start my own club, and then my own club gets momentum, and then you exclude the people associated with my club, you started that war.
No, wait, hold on. That makes no sense. So I started the war by excluding you?
No.
I made you guys fight me?
No.
I told you guys the war. That's not direction. That's just an emotional response to non-inclusion.
That is not what I said. I said, if I start a club, let's just say you're club Y, I'm club X. And you start messing with people in my club, right? My club. You start making jabs at my club, and my club says, F you. You started that war. So I left your club.
So you're kind of smuggling in language here by throwing jabs. When did Charlie Kirk throw jabs at Nick Fuentes?
I mean, where do you want me to start?
So he didn't exclude them. That was the jab?
Well, remember when I told you about the Ashley St. Clair situation?
Yeah, all that is exclusion. That's not him making a statement by saying, I hate Nick Fuentes or F them.
That is punishing a mutual. That's like me. Okay, me, you, and Vic.
It goes back to exclusion. That's it.
Me, you, and Vic right now, right?
Yeah.
Me and you, we're beefing. And then me and Vic go and hang out. And then you say, Vic, F you, you're an a-hole for chilling with that guy. I'm done talking to you. Because you hung out with Rain. That means you started with me.
I'm glad. Well, let's run with that. Let's run with that train of logic. Let's say that you and me are beefing, and then Vic goes into the analverse and chooses you, right? Let's say this happens and the portal to the analverse opens up and you walk in, which I don't know what realm of reality Vic would willingly walk into the analverse, but let's just say that this freakish thing happens, right? I wouldn't attack Vic. I'd only attack you if you and I were beefing. I would never attack him. I would just disassociate. So even by that, by proxy, this isn't Vic causing the war.
Okay. I didn't
say how that works. Vic's not causing the war by disassociating with me.
No, like you kind of just like misinterpreted what I just said, because I said if you stop messing with Vic because he talked to me, you basically threw a jab at me because you're saying, hey, you mess with that guy, I'm not fucking with you.
No, that's not a jab. Do you think that's a disassociation is a jab?
If you were going to be willing to not talk to a mutual friend over me and the mutual friends connection, yeah, I would view that as a personal jab.
You realize that's just an emotional argument. That's not really a logical reason to start a war, right?
Well, do most wars start over logic or emotions?
That's unfalsifiable too. We don't really actually know the answer to that.
Did the founding fathers start a war because they logically felt, or because they logically were mad at the Brits, or because they felt a certain type of way?
Well, here's the thing though. If we're going to start like the Boston Tea Party because we don't like taxes, or we're going to just dump tea in the ocean and say, no, we're going to just split ourselves up by something. Hold on real quick. We're going to disassociate from British colonies, the original British colonies and all this because we don't like the taxation. That's not starting a war. All that is this disassociation. What you're talking about in your version of this, it's like because we disassociated in your version of reality in a different dimension, England attacks us because we don't want taxes anymore. So they come here and start bombing the United States. That's in your version. In my version, which is reality, we just disassociated and we developed our own colonies and everybody lived in peace. That wasn't a reason to start war.
Okay, but like what you just said.
Right.
They threw the tea into the ocean because they did not like the taxes. Like is a feeling.
Yeah, but you realize that you can have feelings derived from inaction and logic, right? I don't like taxes. You see how that works? I don't like as a feeling, but I don't like something that's objectively true that happens in reality, that I'm being penalized for. Pain doesn't feel good. I'm going to have a feeling with pain, right? The taxes are pain. I'm going to feel a certain way, right? But that was started because of a pain or a punishment, a penalty that we observed in reality that was happening.
Right. Hey, like.
So the disassociation wasn't a reason for England to start bombing us in your version, right? Would you say England's justified for bombing the United States because we disassociated ourselves? That's a reason to start beef? A war?
England, if they bombed us because they didn't like our reaction to the disassociation, would be a feeling.
Yeah, that's a feeling. But would we be responsible for the war, or would England be responsible for the war?
It kind of depends on the reason for the disassociation.
We don't like taxes.
Okay,
We're going to separate ourselves. Now, do you think England's justified to bomb the U.S.?
That would be kind of like a feeling versus feeling. They don't like how we feel. We don't like how they feel.
No. We don't like them because of taxes, not because of a feeling. We don't like it because taxes hurt. That's pain.
We don't like
they bomb us because we don't like taxes.
From their taxes, and because they disassociate with us, and because they are just saying like, well, we don't like you because of taxes. So then what? So
no. So it's the inverse. We separated from them because we don't like taxes. And we said, you know what? We're going to develop our own colonies and all this over here. We don't like taxes. That's something that's not a feelings-based thing. That's like, I don't like taxes. I don't like paying to some entity and not knowing and having control where my money goes. That's not a feeling. Feelings come after that. That's like post hoc, right?
Well, like you're kind of like ignoring how feelings can affect a war.
But can you answer the question though that asked, would England be justified to bomb us because of our disassociation with them?
If they did it I'm not saying that it's not a matter of justification. We're talking about
it is a matter of justification because we're talking about the reason why harm is done.
No, because we're talking about if emotions can drive a war.
No, we're not talking about that. So, okay, can I be pained by taxes and not feel the kind of way about it?
Can you pay taxes, not feel the type of?
Can I feel pain from taxes? Meaning, like, the taxes suck, but I don't care. We deal with it anyways. Are there people that walk around the United States and say, "What can you do?" And they don't like it, but they don't feel any kind of way about this, even though they don't like taxes?
I kind of feel like we're getting off of.
That's true, right?
Sure, I'll concede.
Yeah, okay, good. You agree with that. So that's objectively true. That can be objectively true. Somebody could say, this sucks, even though I don't have any feelings about this, but we have to live with this, right? So that war, so back to my question, England, and I'll even answer this for you, England would not be justified for attacking us for disassociating with them. That there's no justification because all you can run to, just like with the Nick Fuentes thing, and let me tie this in everybody else saying, I don't like you because you're not letting me participate. That's not a Charlie Kirk causing more damage to the right. It's because somebody's temper tantrum and they get mad. That's their feelings and their inhibition and loss of control that's causing this. Because Charlie Kirk can be stoic as hell. He's not saying I want to start a fight. How you would actually gain traction in this debate is if you said, Charlie Kirk said this statement and he challenged Nick Fuentes to a battle, or he challenged his rhetoric or said that he was dumb or illogical or something like that. If you were to say that, then I could understand where you're coming from. But if all you have is feelings and speculation, it's like, this is just why Nick Fuentes and Spencer started this harm for the right, not Charlie Kirk.
Well, then we'll just leave it at that because, like, we're just kind of like you're kind of ignoring the feelings of the far right, and I'm telling you,
this isn't about feelings, though. Here's the problem, though.
No,
we can talk about feelings, but all feelings do is all in the speculation.
Martae, I'm sorry, like, I don't need another diatribe about feelings and everything. I'm just kind of saying, like, this debate kind of comes down to acknowledging the isolationism of the far right caused a big problem that caused the birth of the American First Movement. And you can go on social media today, right now. The far right is gaining grounds on so many different areas. Women are moving to the far right. We have memes, like the floodgates are open. The far right is basically going. And I'm saying because the far right is going so hard right now, because of the ignoring that Charlie gave them when he was alive, is what is the damage. And you can say I can't quantify it. I have no statistic on it. I can't really like give you a hard number for it. But that's basically what my argument is.
This is basically amount to like, I feel bad, so therefore I'm justified to cause harm. In a nutshell.
Right, but I'm just saying, like,
oh, that's a bad bro. That's never justification to cause harm because you feel a certain way.
Well, Martae,
you have to ground your feelings in something real.
Hey, Martae, you're assuming I'm justifying it. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying.
I'm not assuming you are. I'm telling you don't have a justification. That's what I'm saying. There's no justification for the harm that Nick's inflicting because you're saying, well, because the far right feels a certain way, this is why they're doing this. And I'm just like, well, I'm looking for justification. There isn't one. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, like at that, I think it's a good stopping point because we're just going to kind of keep circling each other.
Well, I'm not circling. What I'm doing is I'm trying to hone in on something other than feelings.
Each other. We're just going to. It's going to be.
What I'm doing is I'm honing in on something other than feelings that I'm asking. I'm inquiring for something other than feelings. That's a rational explanation of what the harm is. And even then, even up until this point, I have not heard what Charlie Kirk did. Like an action other than exclusion is not a reason for justification of why.
All right, guys. Okay, I'm gonna have to stop because the debate is officially the hour back and forth is officially over. Well done, guys. I thought that was a pretty interesting conversation. Good job to both of you, especially RealRain, because is this your first time, RealRain?
This is my first official debate, and like with someone that I kind of do respect in Martae. I watch a lot of his debates, and yeah.
Hey, you know what? My hat's off to you. I respect you for saying you respect me, not just because you say you respect me. I respect you because it takes a lot of guts to get on a platform and hold a position that could be a contrarian position by the majority who are on the right, as you say you are on the right. You're on the right?
Yeah, like
just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, like
right.
I kind of like am a walker of the dissonant world of the far right. Like I was kind of raised right, and kind of like through music and stuff, I ended up like discovering people on the far right. So I kind of have an insight onto like what they think.
Right. I get that. And I respect that a lot. I respect Cool Vic's platform. He's, by the way, everybody who is out there listens, this is a very neutral platform, unlike other platforms that I don't want to shall not be mentioned here. It's very neutral. He's not one-sided. He's not going to have a one-sided debate, as I've covered the other day on my channel. Give a shout out to Vic. And as a matter of fact, if you could send a super chat to his channel, your testosterone is going to bump up 10%. It's scientifically proven. I don't know where my source is for that, but yeah, do that and subscribe to his channel as well too.
Hell yeah, it's just the science. You got to follow the science, guys.
Yeah, there you go. Science.
So we could do the 7-minute closers. Yeah, you guys have up to 7 minutes. You guys obviously don't have to use the full time. Since Real Rain began, we could have Martae start first. So Martae, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I'd like to say I'll give respect where it's due. I appreciate you, Real Rain, for meeting me on a platform. You've seen me in comment sections battling with other people in where I had to actually punch them in the throat a couple times. But it's like with you, it's like you're not giving me a reason to have such vitriol like I do with some other opponents. And I respect that a lot. We had an engaging conversation, and I do appreciate the spirited exchange and back and forth. Here's the thing that I'll end on. Just speaking directly to the debate in itself, I was looking for like a justifiable cause. There's two things I was looking for. I was looking for what Charlie Kirk did directly to make a justifiable cause for him destroying the right or causing harm to the right. But instead in this debate, I got like, oh, because I excluded myself from people who may have been a liability, maybe that justifies why other people had attacked the right even more. To me, I don't think that's a justification. Even when I talked about the school playground of me excluding a certain kid, but he hit me in the rock, like that doesn't justify me getting hit in the rock or my movement getting rocked because I said this guy's a liability. I just don't want to talk to him. It would be more of like a causation if I said, I don't like this kid. His mama's a something monkey, a pea monkey or whatever, and said some racial epithet. Like to me, it's like, yeah, of course. Now we have an emotional justification, maybe, but even that wasn't justified or even stated in this whole debate. But even then, when we looked for like a reason why or like an action, there was no action stated in this whole debate. What Charlie Kirk did, it then delved into what he didn't do. And I'm just like, you didn't do anything. And that's the reason why you're damaging people. I can see that case, like if I didn't save a life, if somebody was going to die in my inaction to prevent a grape of a minor or something like that happen, now I'm complicit in the event. But that's neither even close to what happened. It's like there's a lot of context and nuance that wasn't even established here. We don't have the why. Unfalsifiable claims as to why he excluded people or how. And I was listening to intently for like why he excluded people. Maybe you even had an answer. I don't have an answer. You don't. And we'll probably never get answers on that, which leaves everything to speculation. And the debate was just a speculative debate when we leaned further on the right. But the closer we went to Charlie, the more innocent he started looking. But the further away we went to other people like Nick and Spencer, the more guilty they started looking as far as damaging on the right. And that's where I'll end my closing statement. That's it.
Well,
all right. Thank you very much, Martae. Hold on. Let me reset this real quick, Rain. All right. Whenever you're ready.
Well, I'm just going to keep this short and simple. Martae, I wanted to talk to you because I wanted to challenge myself. I thought this was a debate that I knew it was going to be controversial and I would be fighting uphill, and you are someone I respect in this space and someone I kind of like felt like would understand my position without viewing it from the position that I'm talking bad about Charlie when I'm just talking bad about what I perceive the things he did were. I do think Charlie Kirk was a great man. I do think that, there was some collateral damage done. I just want to thank Vic for having us on the platform. I want to thank Martae. I want to thank the chat. I know that a lot of the people in the chat are like, some might have understood me, some might not have. But I just want to say, like, sometimes inaction is an action. But at the end of the day, I'm going to do something that Martae is probably not used to hearing. I'm just going to concede because I think that this is something that the debate space needs more of. There needs to be more of I am wrong, you are right, or my argument was not as strong as yours. And I will say, Martae, my argument was not as good as yours tonight. But thank you for the opportunity anyways.
Yeah, it's pretty humbling to hear, man.
Right.
I'm not going to trounce on your last statement or anything like that, man. I'm just going to end it real quick and say, because I'm going to respond real quick, Vic. Mad respect, man. It takes a lot of balls, courage, and guts to say that. And it tells me, though, that you're open and receptive to become a stronger debater, actually, by even saying that right there. Because if you're open to change and you're open to bettering yourself, you're going to acknowledge that we're going to have a learning process climbing uphill. And like you said, this is an uphill battle. That tells me that you're going to be a good student of the game. And I was like that when I started out, too. I respect the fact that you had the courage to step up to the fight. And I enjoyed the thorough back and forth, for sure.
Yeah, man, that was excellent. All right, thank you guys very much. Wow, first, I think that's the first time I've seen like a concession, so that was awesome, RealRain.
You'll never get one from Manure. That'll never happen.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. There wasn't really much questions. I'm just going to go through these real quick anyway. Maybe we'll get some last minutes, but thank you very much, Postal Joe, for the gifted 5 Cool Vic memberships. Thank you very much. Also, thank you very much, Kokomo, for the $10 Australian dollars. Thank you very much. And also, thank you very much, PharmaCat, for the $5. I don't want the testosterone. Someone else can take it. All right. Well, that's good. We don't want any transes here in the chat, so that's good.
Good. Based.
And then, thank you very much, Postal Joe, for the $5. Thanks for the debate. I always appreciate a good, calm conversation without newsy hats. Yeah, I know, right? That is absolutely true. Thank you very much, Postal Joe. So, yeah, no Q&A. So I don't know if there's any other thoughts. RealRain, I thought you had like a good argument to be had there. Like I felt like if you would have kept it to more of the big tent conservatism argument, I think you could have done like a better job. I think you focusing too much on Nick Fuentes was more hurtful because it gave Martae more like a lot of opportunities to say, well, this sounds like more of a Nick problem than a Charlie problem. And I think that's where you kind of went wrong there. Just a little feedback.
And I guess I kind of like misrepresented my message, where it's kind of about the alienation of the far right more so than Nick. I kind of wanted to kind of focus on the alienation part of the far right.
Well, if I can offer something else too, just to play devil's advocate against myself, I think a tougher position, and this is what I was like kind of not wary of, but if you would have came in saying that, yeah, he's uttered some things that appeared racist on his end, but the fact that he's responsible for clearing this up and never reconciled or cleared this up, and then not only this, but when you leave things to where they're kind of subtle and to where they can be misinterpreted because you're not clearing this up or giving clarity to things, you leave things open to be weaponized against you. And Charlie didn't do this very well. He was bad at doing this. When he did this, he got clipped out of context and never came back to re-clarify these things that may have been misconstrued or weaponized against him. Like, that would have been a good debate. The Big Tent debate thing that there's plenty of other, I could have been in good opposition against that, actually, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Yeah, the Big Tent argument, I think, is kind of like a low-hanging fruit because, the Big Tent with exclusion would be kind of hard to prove. How do I prove that welcoming all these people in is bad and all these not welcoming these people? You know what I mean? I would have to prove, two different things at the same time.
Well, here's where Vic's right about this, and this is where I would go with Vic, what I was saying. So the fact that he got murked, during this whole situation means that there was like less oversight, meaning like it was sloppy. The gatherings were sloppy. There were several fights that happened in crowds sometimes when this happened, which means that the security wasn't tight. This is all big tent stuff. And meaning like if you're holding events that tend to be kind of liabilities, this could even be a more massive liability if you're bringing more people that have hate and vitriol against you with less security, less oversight as far as cautionary structure or anything like this. And I'm like, this is a really big liability. And I'm like, the fact that he got taken out shows the inevitability of what happens when you don't like that. That would be another direction I would take too. And amongst other directions, that's proven too. So.
Yeah, and hey, man, I appreciate the notes. I hope that someday we can team up together and take on the Panelverse. I think.
Oh, they got to get destroyed, bro. I'm just gonna tell you, that's one of my side quests for sure. So.
Yeah, but like, again, like, thank you both for just giving me the opportunity. You know, this is my show is going to be a my YouTube is going to basically be about presenting the far right and why they come to the conclusions that they come to, because what we always see is who the far right is, but not how they are the far right. So just kind of wanted to say, like, thank you for letting me kind of give you what the far right says about things.
And a matter of fact, anybody who's a chatter here, subscribe to RealRain's channel if you guys want to get this up and running. I'm actually intrigued, so I'll give you a sub to RealRain, by the way. So,
appreciate it, man.
Yeah, so yeah, I was about to say the same thing. Go follow RealRain on his channel, a small up and coming channel. Sounds like it's going to have good stuff over there. And you know, hopefully I get to host you for another debate sometime again, RealRain.
Just not with Dusty.
Oh, with Dusty. Yeah, I'm excited for that too, by the way. Martae's debate next week.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We do have a debate. So I do want to challenge an opponent that was the only person that objectively beat me this year. I want to challenge Mo Rebuttal to another debate because according to the poll, he did beat me. Everybody else got mollywopped. Tonight's debate was spectacular, by the way, but I want to challenge Mo to a debate. I'll pick a prompt or you can pick a prompt. This will be on Cool Vic's channel. This will also be kind of one of these debates where it's like, I respect the opponent a lot, but I just don't, I'm kind of a sore loser, Vic, to be honest with you. And I'd like to reconcile that loss on your channel at some point.
Yeah, man, I'd be down to host that. This will be Martae avenging his loss, so to speak, his redemption debate, if you will.
Let's do it. I don't like losing, bro.
Hoping to erase that L, man. Yeah, I'm definitely down to host that whenever you guys want to do it. I'm down, and I like Mo too, so that'll be pretty good.
Yeah, so I want to debate Copper's dad. Well, that's his dog's name. But anyways, I'm debating Copper's dad soon, so I challenge you, Mo, if you're out there in YouTube land, and we will go to fisticuffs because I don't like losing. I want to go back to 0 instead of, 1-0 with you. Let's do it.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, did you enjoy that video? I hope you did. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe, or else you're gay. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. I'm just trying to save you from sin. Also, make sure you catch the Cool Stream live Mondays through Fridays right here on my YouTube channel, and make sure you follow me at any of these links down below for everything Cool Vic.